We're always complaining that games are expensive, but let's be honest for a second. Most of them aren't worth anything. I've regretted so many times buying overhyped garbage that some paid critic swore was good. So, I did something crazy. I bought all the major linear PS5 releases to find out which ones are actually worth full price. And I found 18 games that make you forget money even exists. 1. Kena Bridge of Spirits. Kena is one of those games you start thinking, yeah, it looks cute, and suddenly you're fully invested, emotional, and getting beaten up by bosses that simply refuse to let you rest. The whole world feels carefully crafted, every leaf and every stone placed with care. But what really surprised me was the heart of the story. It's simple, sure, but it tackles themes like loss, healing, and responsibility in a surprisingly mature way. The game doesn't need a huge open world. It gives you just enough to make every step feel worthwhile. And the combat? Way deeper than it looks. You think it's going to be just a light little action game, and suddenly you're managing parries, dodges, precision arrows, and timing your abilities like you're in a mini Souls game. Boss fights demand focus, and beating them is incredibly satisfying. When you finish, you're not thinking about the length of the game or the price. You're thinking about how warm, emotional, and visually stunning the whole journey was. It's like playing a Pixar movie mixed with an action challenge, and that combination alone is worth every penny. 2. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2 is pure chaos in the most fun way possible. This isn't a game that wants to lecture you or get philosophical. It wants you to grab a massive weapon, jump into the battlefield, and destroy aliens as if you were the last hope in the galaxy. And honestly, that's the charm. The power fantasy here is insane. Every strike, every shot, every brutal execution feels heavy and satisfying. You're not a soldier, you're a walking tank, and the game makes sure you feel that every second. The missions throw you into huge war zones filled with explosions, enemies flooding the field, and your team shouting over the radio. It's that kind of, oh my god, this is insane energy that makes you smile without even noticing. Even though it's a linear game, it knows how to mix things up. One moment you're clearing a corridor, the next you're fighting alongside entire battalions, and suddenly you're in a desperate last stand straight out of a blockbuster movie. It doesn't try to be deep or emotional. It exists to deliver raw fun. And sometimes that's exactly what a full-price game needs to be. 3. Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 is a game that really surprised me. It's an experience that gets inside your head and stays there. It's scary, surreal, atmospheric, and sometimes so intense that you actually need to pause just to breathe. It's the kind of game where turning off the lights feels like a mistake. The way Remedy mixes gameplay with live-action scenes is simply insane. It creates this constant feeling that you're inside a twisted TV show where reality keeps rewriting itself. Saga's sections feel like a true investigative thriller, full of clues, mind maps, and that constant tension of something is really wrong here. Then you switch to Alan, and everything becomes dreamlike and theatrical, as if reality is melting around him. It's unsettling in a way that very few games manage to pull off. And the transitions, man, the transitions are wild. It's not a game focused on heavy combat. It's all about atmosphere, tension, and storytelling. You play Alan Wake 2 for the mood, for the weirdness, for the feeling of being trapped inside an artist's nightmare. If you enjoy games that push visuals, push storytelling, and make you think long after you turn off the console, this one is absolutely worth the full price. Easily one of the most memorable horror experiences on PS5. 4. Black Myth Wukong. Black Myth Wukong feels like it puts you inside an ancient legend and makes you live it. Everything, the forests, the mountains, the temples, looks almost too good to be real. Sometimes you just stop and stare because the visuals are that impressive. The combat is the real star. Fast, fluid, and demanding. Every boss feels like a creature taken straight from Chinese mythology, and each one has its own rhythm you need to learn. That finally beat him moment hits incredibly hard here. What makes Wukong so special is how deeply rooted it is in its culture. It doesn't try to westernize or simplify anything. The story, the creatures, the music, everything feels authentic and respectful to the legends that inspired the game. There's a great flow between exploration and combat that grabs you from the very first minute. No padding, no useless content, just pure, focused adventure. In a world full of games trying to imitate each other, Wukong stands out as something bold, artistic, and unforgettable. It's the kind of game that reminds you why new IPs still matter. 5. Metaphor ReFantazio. Metaphor ReFantazio is that rare JRPG that already feels different the moment you start it. It doesn't rely on nostalgia or recycled formulas. Instead, it builds a world that feels ancient, mysterious, and completely alive. You can feel the Persona DNA in the character designs and the atmosphere, but the game quickly forms its own identity. The combat system is stylish. You're constantly switching between carefully planning your moves and improvising on the spot. And the animations have that, wow, I need to see that again shine. It hits that perfect sweet spot where battles are strategic without slowing down the pace. And the world building? Massive. Everything you discover, villages, ruins, strange creatures, feels like it belongs to a culture older than anything you know. It gives you the sense that the world existed long before you arrived, and you're just stepping into a story that was already in motion. But what really sells the game is the personality of the characters. You start caring about them much faster than you'd expect, and that makes every victory and every loss hit a lot harder. If you enjoy JRPGs that don't waste your time and actually try to innovate, Metaphor feels like a gift. Easily worth every dollar. 6. Silent Hill 2 Remake. Silent Hill 2 Remake isn't just a graphical upgrade. It's a masterpiece wrapped in next-gen horror technology. The remake respects the soul of the original, but adds visuals so disturbing that sometimes you stop and think, yeah, I probably shouldn't be seeing this in 4K. The fog, the lighting, the creature design, everything is sharper, more unsettling, and more terrifying than ever. Walking through those abandoned streets genuinely makes you feel unsafe. The game makes silence sound louder than any jump scare. James's story feels even more personal now. The improved facial animations make his guilt, confusion, and fear so real that some cutscenes almost hurt to watch. It's that heavy. And the pacing, still perfect. Slow, suffocating, intentional. Combat also got better. It finally feels like James can defend himself without taking away from the horror. Enemies are unpredictable, awkward, and disturbing, exactly as they should be. This is one of those games you don't just play, you absorb it. You sit inside the emotion, the tension, the regret. It's uncomfortable in the best way possible. And honestly, this remake proves why Silent Hill 2 is still considered a masterpiece. 7. God of War Ragnarok. Ragnarok doesn't waste a second of your time. From the moment the game starts, you're thrown into a world that feels ancient, icy, and full of gods who, honestly, just need therapy. And Kratos, he's still the king of making every strike look like it could split the planet in half. The story hits hard. It's emotional, tense, funny at the right moments, and built around characters you genuinely care about. Watching Kratos struggle to be a father while still being, well, Kratos, makes the journey feel deeply personal. Combat is brutal, fast, and heavier than any other action game out there. Every axe throw is perfect. Every shield bash feels like a car crash. And switching between weapons mid-fight turns every encounter into a small action puzzle. The linear structure helps a lot. No bloated open world, no unnecessary padding, just pure, focused adventure with some of the best cinematic moments the PS5 has ever seen. By the time the credits roll, you feel like you've experienced something big, something meaningful. Ragnarok is exactly what a full-price game should be: polished, emotional, and unforgettable. 8. Returnal. Returnal is the kind of game that surprises you and basically says, you're not leaving until you master this, and strangely, you're grateful for it. It's fast, chaotic, mysterious, and absolutely gorgeous, even when it's killing you for the 27th time. The movement alone already makes the game worth playing. Celine feels light yet powerful, and dodging neon projectiles in slow-motion environments is the closest the PS5 gets to pure gameplay bliss. It's a dance, one where the game leads and you try not to step on your own feet. The story unfolds like a psychological puzzle. Each attempt reveals a secret, and the more you discover, the more you realize things aren't what they seem. The house sequences? Yeah, those moments stay with you. And the structure is perfect for a linear experience. No filler, no boring side quests, just handcrafted biomes that evolve as you improve. Every run feels like a new attempt at understanding the planet and the character herself. Not everyone will finish Returnal, but everyone who does walks away feeling proud. This game respects your time, your skill, and your curiosity, and that alone makes it worth every cent. 9. Lost Soul Aside. Lost Soul Aside feels like one of those games that came out of nowhere just to flex. The combat is insanely fast, like Devil May Cry and Final Fantasy had a hyperactive baby who loves particle effects. Every slash, every dodge, every combo has this stylish flow that makes you feel like you're controlling an anime fight scene in real time. The main duo, Kaiser and his creature companion, have this cool dynamic that gives the game a lighter tone than you'd expect. Their banter adds personality to the world, and it keeps things from feeling too heavy even when the story gets dramatic. What really surprised me was how polished the animations are. The transitions between moves, the mid-air combos, the teleport strikes, everything connects smoothly, making the combat feel almost rhythmic. It's like the game wants you to look cool even if you're just button mashing it first. The world is linear but packed with set pieces and fast-paced encounters, which honestly is exactly the type of pacing this combat style deserves. Nothing drags, nothing wastes your time. You're just constantly thrown into another flashy moment you didn't expect. If you want a game that keeps your heart rate up and makes you feel like the main character of a high-budget action anime, this one delivers big time. 10. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is basically a Pixar movie you can control, and sometimes it even looks better than Pixar. Seriously, the first time you jump between dimensions at high speed, you immediately understand why this game exists on PS5. No loading, no slowdown, just pure console flex. Ratchet, Clank, and Rivet bring so much charm that every cutscene feels like a warm hug. The writing is light, funny, and heartfelt, and you genuinely care about the characters even if you're new to the series. It's family-friendly without ever feeling childish. Gameplay-wise, everything feels incredibly smooth. The weapons are creative and fun in that classic Ratchet style, like throwing a disco ball to make enemies dance while you blast them. The DualSense support is still some of the best on the console. The pacing is flawless. Every level is well crafted, every moment pushes you forward, and the game knows exactly when to switch from combat to platforming to story. No filler, no boring padding, just pure fun from start to finish. If you want a creative game packed with action, Rift Apart is worth every penny. 11. The Last of Us Part 1. The Last of Us Part 1 doesn't just remake a classic, it elevates it. The new facial animations hit so hard that scenes you already knew suddenly feel fresh and emotionally heavier. Watching Joel and Ellie interact with this level of detail makes their bond feel even more real.
The gameplay isn't radically different, but the polish is undeniable. Gunplay feels tighter, stealth feels cleaner, and every encounter hits harder thanks to the improved AI. Enemies are smarter, more aggressive, and sometimes genuinely creepy. And the environments. Wow. The lighting, the texture work, the atmosphere. It feels like the world finally matches the tone of the story. Every abandoned room and ruined street tells a story without saying anything. But the magic is still the journey itself. That slow build between Joel and Ellie is one of the best character arcs gaming has ever had. Even if you've played it before, the remake makes you appreciate the story in a new way. It's a linear adventure done at the highest possible level, and it reminds you how powerful narrative-driven games can be.
12. Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls on PS5 is the definition of this is how you remake a game. You boot it up, and instantly you're hit with maybe the best visuals the system has ever produced. The castles, the fog, the lighting, it all feels like walking through a dark fantasy painting. The difficulty is still very much intact. This is the OG Souls brutality, the kind that doesn't care how good you think you are. But the controls are way smoother now, so every death feels fair, even if it still hurts. Exploration hits different here. Each area has its own vibe, some lonely, some terrifying, some just straight up oppressive. When you finally beat a boss, you don't celebrate because you won. You celebrate because the game finally lets you breathe again. What makes this remake stand out is how respectful it is. It modernizes everything without changing the soul, no pun intended, of the original. You still feel that same unsettling atmosphere that defined the series, just amplified with current-gen power. If you love challenge, mood, and that unique From Software flavor, Demon's Souls is absolutely worth the money, and maybe the prettiest punishment you'll ever experience.
13. Astro Bot. Astro Bot surprised a lot of people at launch. It's the kind of game you boot up thinking it's just going to be a cute little tech demo, and suddenly you're smiling like an idiot because every tiny detail overflows with charm. It celebrates PlayStation's history in a way that feels like a love letter, not a nostalgia trap. The DualSense here is absolutely insane. Every vibration, every texture, every tiny sensation in the controller feels like magic. It's the one game that really makes you think, oh, that's why the PS5 controller exists. The level design is tight, creative, and packed with surprises. One moment you're going through a classic platforming section, and the next you're doing something you didn't even know the PS5 was capable of. It keeps reinventing itself without ever losing its identity. Even if you're not a platformer fan, Astro Bot wins you over with pure fun. It's light, joyful, and has zero slow moments. It's one of the few linear games that feels like it was made to make you smile from beginning to end. If you want something simple, well-crafted, beautifully polished, and full of soul, this is absolutely essential.
14. Mafia: The Old Country. Mafia: The Old Country hits a very specific vibe, that cinematic Mafia drama energy, where every conversation feels like a negotiation, and every mission feels like it could go wrong at any second. The story is easily the biggest reason to play it. It's mature, grounded, and full of characters who feel like real people instead of caricatures. The pacing is excellent. The game doesn't waste time with open-world filler. It moves from story moment to mission with that tight, movie-like rhythm that keeps you hooked. It almost feels like binge-watching an Italian crime miniseries where you're the one pulling the trigger. Visually, it nails the atmosphere. Smoky bars, rain-soaked streets, old cars with that heavy engine noise. Everything feels authentic. The lighting especially makes the city feel alive in a very gritty, old-school way. Combat is straightforward but satisfying. It's not about flashy mechanics, it's about tension. The shootouts feel like desperate situations where one wrong peek can get you dropped. And because the game is so story-focused, every kill actually feels like it matters.
If you want a linear game with strong writing and a world you can sink into like a good crime novel, Mafia delivers hard.
15. Resident Evil 4 Remake. Resident Evil 4 Remake is one of those rare games that takes a classic everyone already loves and somehow makes it even better. It feels familiar, but also sharper, faster, and way more intense. The atmosphere is darker, the tension is higher, and the encounters hit even harder than before. The pacing is perfect. It never slows down too much, never drags, and always throws something new at you. One moment you're defending a cabin with Ashley, the next you're facing off against some grotesque mutation that makes you want to take a step back from the TV. Combat feels amazing. Guns have weight, enemies react realistically, and melee finishers are more satisfying than ever. It's a beautiful mix of action and horror where you're powerful but never safe. And those chainsaw ganados? Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Ashley is also way better this time around. She's more helpful, less annoying, and actually feels like a character instead of a chore. Her interactions with Leon add a lot of personality to the journey. As a linear experience, it's practically flawless. Every chapter has purpose, every set piece is memorable, and the whole adventure feels like Capcom at their absolute best. 16. A Plague Tale Requiem. A Plague Tale Requiem is one of the rare games that manages to maintain the quality of the first one. It's emotional, heavy, and filled with scenes that stay in your mind long after you turn off the console. Amicia and Hugo carry this story, with performances that feel painfully human. The game is stunning, the kind of beauty that makes you stop just to admire the scenery. But the beauty doesn't soften the darkness. The rats are more terrifying than ever. The world feels harsher, and the sense of danger is constant. Gameplay remains focused on stealth and survival, but everything is more mature and more intense. Amicia's combat options have improved, but the game never turns into a power fantasy. Every fight feels desperate. Every choice feels costly. The linear structure keeps the narrative sharp. It moves from moment to moment with purpose, building tension and emotional weight until everything finally explodes in the final chapters. And when it does, it hits hard. Harder than you expect. Requiem isn't just a good game, it's the kind of story-driven experience that stays with you. If you enjoy emotional adventures and deep narratives, this one is absolutely worth it.
17. Dead Space Remake. Dead Space Remake is one of those games that makes you appreciate linear design again. There's no free roaming, no side missions, no unnecessary padding. It's just you, a creepy abandoned ship, and pure survival horror. And man, the Ishimura has never looked this good. The lighting alone tells half the story. Every corridor feels like it's hiding something, and of course, it usually is. What I like most is how the game slowly breaks you down psychologically. You start off confident, blasting monsters apart, and then the game starts messing with your head. Audio logs, hallucinations, whispers in the corners, everything is designed to make you paranoid. Even the zero-gravity segments feel uncomfortable because you never know where something might come from. And now Isaac actually talks, which makes the story hit a lot harder. But the best part? The remake fully respects the original while fixing literally everything that was annoying back in 2008. The map, the controls, the movement, everything feels tighter and more natural. It's one of the few remakes that truly feels like a real evolution. If you want an intense, focused game that doesn't waste a single second of your time, this one is absolutely essential.
18. Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. If you want something different, like truly different, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is one of the boldest linear RPGs in years. The whole world is surreal, like a dream that feels beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The art direction alone makes this worth playing. It's like every frame is a painting you want to stare at a little longer. The weirdest and coolest part is the combat. It makes his turn-based mechanics with real-time dodging, blocking, and precision timing. So even though it's an RPG at heart, you can't just sit there mashing buttons. You actually have to react, and it creates this addicting rhythm where every fight feels like a little boss battle. But the story is where the game shines. You're basically trying to break a cursed cycle where an artist paints the number 33 every year, and the moment she finishes the painting, everyone with that age just dies. It's dark, emotional, and strangely poetic. The game never tries to be flashy or AAA loud. It just delivers a tight, focused adventure that stays with you long after the credits roll.
And that's it. If you're tired of wasting money on games that don't respect your time, these are the ones that actually deliver from start to finish. If you've played any of them, tell me which one you'd recommend first. And if I missed a hidden gem, drop it in the comments so I can check it out. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.